It's Friday, March 9th. Let's talk PlayStation. Alright, so we definitely have some news stories to discuss. A lot of things going on in the world of PlayStation this past week. Surprisingly, Sony released PS4 Firmware 5.50, basically out of nowhere. I mean, usually they do a blog post or something saying it's going to come on a certain date or even a few hours prior, but no, it's out for everybody. You probably already knew this because your PS4 prompted you to update to it, but we'll do a really fast recap, and I said really fast, really slow. You're going to get that playtime management system that's going to be built into the PS4 UI now, so going into settings and family management, this is for parent and guardians to kind of have a little bit of leverage on their children and the sub accounts. So there's also library UI updates. This PS4 section and the library section makes it a little bit easier to see what apps are installed on the PS4 and which games were purchased with what PSN IDs. You can check the PS Plus tab for all the games that are registered via the PS Plus section. You can hide apps for all those things that you've never wanted to show up in your library to begin with. Then you've got the quick menu enhancements, easily access friends and groups. Background music on PS Now, easily accessible but still applicable to if the game supports it or whatnot. Notification update, you can get rid of notifications now. Importing custom wallpapers via USB, that's very welcomed. Same thing with customizing tournament team pages. You can basically go in there and edit the imagery there with the USB stick. And super sampling mode on PS4 Pro, which is great for PS4 Pro owners that have 1080p televisions, kind of getting some retroactively better imagery on the system for your current library of games. Very welcomed update for sure. I mean, there's still a lot of things that I would like to see, and we'll probably see them in 6.0, I would hope. And I would guess you'd see 6.0 around September, October, maybe November, but certainly the later half of the year. So we'll just have to wait and see on what Sony brings to the table then. Now moving forward with some God of War news, Cory Barlog, the director of the game, recently responded to a fan's question on Twitter. The fan asked, will there be microtransactions in the new God of War? And Cory Barlog responded saying, no freaking way. So if you had any fear instilled in you that there were going to be microtransactions in the game, then there you go. There's not going to be any whatsoever, which I didn't really expect. I would have been quite honestly shocked if there were going to be any in the game. And Cory's been beating the drum for a while in terms of like what God of War is. He's saying this is a single-player linear game. It's exactly what you guys want. None of this crap. None of this bullshit. No this, no that. It's going to be exactly what we say it is. And I think that's why I like Cory, because he's very outspoken with these things. But more interestingly, into our next God of War story, a PS4 Pro special console is coming out. Which, funny enough, for the past few weeks I've been kind of wondering, like, wow, are they really not going to do a special edition PS4 with this game? They seem to do that a lot with their marquee titles, and, the last God of War game got a special PS3. That console was red, and it looked pretty cool. But we do get it now, finally announced it kind of on the later side, but pre-orders are available for it now, $400. And you will, of course, get the game with it. Surprisingly, I also thought they were going to go red with this one, but it's like a silver console, and it looks, the more I look at it, it's growing on me. I like that gold trim in the middle, but actually the front plate of the system is the skill tree that's going to be in the game, and that's Kratos' axe, so that's actually kind of cool. See a little bit of insight into that. So yeah, it looks pretty dope. If you are interested in getting the console, you'd probably want to place a pre-order. It more than likely might be pretty limited. So I thought we'd talk about this because it's certainly interesting, and it could very well mean something for PlayStation possibly in the future. Developer Ready at Dawn, we best know them for their not recently, a few years now. It's been 2015 I think that game came out. The Order 1886, which was a PS4 exclusive, kind of a big deal for a few, leading up to its release, came out and had some, dicey reviews, some bad, some okay, but, the game received somewhat okay critical acclaim, not really, you know what I mean? But, it was divisive, I guess you could say. But Sony has a long relationship with this developer, because Ready at Dawn also made a lot of PSP games back in the day, like Daxter and stuff, and the God of War games on PSP. So Sony has a working relationship with them. And for the past few years, actually, Ready at Dawn has been doing Deformers, which was a multi-platform game, and then some other game on Oculus. So they've actually kind of been doing their own thing, and I'm sure they're seeing some success with those endeavors. But they have a bunch of job listings for apparently a AAA third-person action game. It's going to be a brand new original IP, is what it says. So certainly not a sequel for the Order 1886. But, given the relationship that Ready at Dawn has had, and given the fact that it's a AAA game, that very explicit thing right there kind of tells us that it may be a very big, ambitious title. Because what's funny is that we had a conversation about that where it's like, okay, well, these guys are making a big-ass console game, and it looks incredible, and they've, for the longest time have been doing these you know, very subtle, not very ambitious PSP games. Well, it's just like, you know, I mean, they were ambitious for the what the platform was, which was a portable PlayStation, but like it's just like on a whole nother level when you're on PS4 and doing these crazy intensive visuals. And the Order 1886 is still visually one of the most impressive looking games ever. So to see them, you know, now listing the possibility of doing a AAA game, you know, they've got to be getting publishing support from somebody. You know what I mean? There's this, you got to figure they're exploring a publishing deal with somebody, or they're receiving funding, or it's just like this. That's just how these things go down. And given the relationship with Sony, it could be, maybe it's a possibility that Sony's working with them. We don't know. But I just thought I'd mention it because they have been kind of on the down low for a while, mostly because the Order wasn't really received all that well. So I'm going to keep my eyes peeled on this for sure to see what they end up doing. So this news story is certainly making some rounds, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk about it for just a little bit. There's this really weird, ridiculous game called Super Seducer. It's like this weird FMV game where like it's got like live action video of like a dude trying to pick up chicks, and it's got ridiculous options of like you can pick to try to seduce women, and some of them are so unbelievably absurd, right? There's like hilarious videos of people, you know, playing this game because it's already out on PC, and apparently it was slated to come to PS4. Well, the news is that Sony actually rejected this game, and then they're not going to be allowing it to be released on the PlayStation Store. And we don't hear stories like that too often of games getting rejected on the PlayStation Store. This one grabs a lot of attention because it's just so weird and borderline stupid. But yeah, I guess it goes into the question of like, why was this game possibly rejected? And of course, it's probably a number of reasons. One thing being quality control, or the fact that it's kind of demeaning to women. And if you do watch it, it is kind of like, it's very cringy, some of the moments in that game. I'm also maybe inclined to say that Sony's possibly rejected it because if it's trying to be being sold as a game, that means it would need trophy support, and developers actually have to make a case for their games requiring trophies, when realistically this game is like super bare bones of just straight up like choosing things and then watching a video, more or less. Which I know then some people want to get very cynical about, oh, certain other games are just like that, those walking simulators and whatnot. But you certainly, I hope, if you're a rational person, you can see the fine line here. This is a little bordering the part of not being really much of a game. So maybe it was that, but I guess that's like a good example of console manufacturers and how they don't have these massive floodgates like Steam and like just generally releasing games on PC. It's an open platform that's not regulated. You know, there's certain storefronts that do regulate, like again Origin or Steam, but even then they're pretty open with it. You know what I mean? Whereas Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo can be much more stringent, despite the fact that there are also a few questionable PS4 games that have been released on the store in recent years, like that one Eye of Black Tiger game or whatever it was called. Anyway, moving on to our next news story. It's a PS5 news story, so we're probably going to see a few more of these crop up in the next year to year and a half to whenever PS5 becomes a reality, because we are kind of getting to that point now. Anyway, this is a new analyst. This is NPD's Matt Piscatella. He's just throwing his hat into the ring in terms of PS5 prediction type stuff. This one believes 2020 for a console release. Expects PS4 to reach 100 million consoles sold in 2019. Sounds about right. I mean, the system's going across 80 million very soon. Probably is already very close to it, I imagine. It'll eclipse PS3 sales probably in the next 3-4 months. It'll get very close to 90 million by the end of this year. So 100 million is very doable in 2019. It just goes back to the time frame that you might have already seen a few people mention, and we've discussed it as well, which is like, so once Sony's developers, push out their PS4 games, I highly doubt they're going to start working on another PS4 game. Like, they're probably going to start working on PS5 projects. So, when Naughty Dog's all wrapped up, Sony Bend, Quantic Dream, Polyphony Digital, Media Molecule. I'm just thinking of all Sony's developers now because they got so damn many. But like once all these games are wrapped up, I mean, yeah, they're certainly probably going to just start working on next gen immediately. Maybe one or two developers might, you know, maybe the time frame won't just line up super correctly, and Sony may have one or two more titles that'll creep out on the PS4, like near the end of its life cycle. So it's not going to be like a situation where it's a straight wave of this is it. These are the last major PS4 exclusive you will see. Certainly there may be one or two more that you could expect. However, this is where we're going, you know. It is a very real thing because games just take so damn long to make. That's what we're getting at here, is that once these games do come out, it'll take a long time for them to start up a new project, and it would make a lot more sense for it to release on a new platform than an old one. And PS4 will be quite old once it's around 2019 or 2020. And that you also have to think of the time frame as well. A 2020 release doesn't necessarily mean that we won't find out about PS5, let's say mid-2019 or even late 2019. You know, we still have to learn about the console and then spend anywhere from 6 months to a year getting news, information, and things like that, and just start the whole, you know, the whole shebang, if you will, of finding out what the PlayStation 5 is going to really be like. Anyway, those are just some of the news stories that I want to talk about with you guys this week. So, I hope you have all enjoyed the 2 new videos that I have released from Monday and Wednesday. My PS3 story about how I got one on launch, wow, I can't even remember. Oh yeah, the PSN avatars video, the ridiculous ass PlayStation Network avatars that are actually being sold on the PlayStation Store. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. It seems like a lot of you guys enjoyed the story one, the PS3 story, which is good because I have filmed another video like that already before that one even got uploaded, but it's good to see that you guys like that one. I will say I definitely have some stories to share with you guys if you want to see more of them. However, I will also note they're not all PlayStation. I actually have a lot of Nintendo stories that I think would be pretty cool. So just letting you know, if you'd like to see more story videos, you know, I guess just give me the approval that you don't care that they're Nintendo, which I would hope you don't give a shit about, because let's face it, games are games and we're all here to have fun. So don't get all weird and fanboy about it. But yeah, I definitely have some more stories about just all sorts of cool shit. Shit, what else was I gonna say? Oh, an LTPS 300 is next week, which is great, and I finally figured out something kind of special that I can do. Gotta turn that on. I don't like when it does that. It's gotta be bright. It's gotta look right, you know what I mean? So there's nothing else I can tell you except, like, wait till next week and you'll see what I have ridiculously planned up for that episode. It'll still be a regular episode, of course. We'll talk about PlayStation news, but it'll be a momentous occasion because I started in 2012, and it's been a long time since I've been doing this every fucking Friday, talking PlayStation on the internet. But that's besides the point. I'm happy that I'm releasing the new videos, and so many of you have been connecting with me, telling me that you're really enjoying them so far. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And so yeah, that's going to keep going. Monday, Wednesday, expect some new stuff. And again, it's going to be varied content. Some of it's going to be completely random, which a lot of you are enjoying. And then some of it's actually going to be returning content. But not just returned content in the veins of, like, it's the same shit, because, like, that same shit sometimes just didn't really work. I put a little bit more into it. So, again, just keep the conversation going with me and let me know what you like and don't like. And live streams will start relatively soon. When, I don't know. I've already polled you guys a bit on, like, what you'd like to see and how frequently and like, what days you think are best available and stuff like that, but I'll figure something out for that relatively soon. And I will mention again, the Patreon page, it's $5 to get LTPS now in a podcast form for any podcast service that you like. I would appreciate some support if you are inclined to. You absolutely do not have to whatsoever. But just throwing that out there once again. Anyway, I'm back on the grind, people. So got a lot of things that we'll always be talking about now. It's going to be some good stuff coming. It's going to be a good 2018, at least on this channel. Anyway, that concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Badecki. Thank you all so much for talking with me, and I will see you guys next Friday.